What do you think about that bell? Well, when we get our bell, it's going to sound exactly like that because of everything. So, all right, good morning, everybody. Go ahead and finish your breakfast and enjoy. Nice to see you guys. We're going to get started here in about 2 minutes. We're actually live streaming right now. So for those of you in Mexico and Florida and Montana, and my buddy Jerry up there in Montana, and Laura and Mona, and I'm telling you, we just say hi to you. And for those in Florida, we're very excited to have you on with us. And so this morning, we're going to finish up a talk on procrastination. Can you imagine that? I don't think I've ever procrastinated on anything in my life, except this morning I was procrastinating about how to get started this morning. So we're going to get started, and we're going to have a little quick word of prayer, and then we'll get started. Okay, Father, thank you now for the day. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. Thank you for those who come for the first time. And just thank you for all that you do in our life and how you lead and directed our lives. And for that, we give you all the credit. And now we thank you for our knowledge and our talents and our abilities and for the vision that we have that you've given to us. In thy name we pray. Amen. Amen, everybody. So good morning. And
Good morning.
I'm going to finish up on a talk that I started 18 years ago in a class at our church called Entrepreneurs for Christ. And so Skip Elmore and I and Lee Resinger and my buddy Mark. Anyway, we had a class. We had 4 teachers, and we would all alternate each week. And over the course of 18 years, I did about 180 different lessons and on different things. During the course of that time, that period, I found that not only did I grow in stature, but I grew in knowledge and wisdom of God's Word. I grew in knowledge and wisdom of the secular world and how that works. And I also grew as an individual person. And so out of that, I gained a lot of abilities in my own personal talents. Little did I realize that if I would have started those when I was 17, 18, and 19 years old, one thing that happened to me when I was young, I didn't go to school. I quit school in the 7th grade. And then I went back into the 9th grade for about 2 weeks, and I decided I knew more than the teacher, so I quit. And I went to work in a meatpacking house, and there I did a talk one time, and God was in control, okay? One day I'll do that for you. It's a whole lesson of how God is in control of your life if you allow Him to be in control, sometimes even when you don't even know it, okay? And so this morning, I want to finish up this lesson, and I'm going to finish it at 10 after, and I've got a lot of things to talk about. I can talk, so help me. I wanted to talk to you about the flip rate. I've been working on the flip rate. This is called the flip rate. And you know, it works really good if you work it. If you're out in the yard, you're working like this here, you got it, you want to get over here, you want to go underneath the fence over here, you just turn back over here, you just kind of, it's called a flip rate, right?
Great demonstration.
Do you know that I'm getting a patent on it? Okay, a provisional patent and a patent on it, design patent, right? And so it's unbelievable. I think my daughter said, I think I could sell 1 million of them. You understand? God said, my people suffer for the lack of vision. And then I'm working on this one. This is what I call my freedom bell, right? This is the freedom bell. On the freedom bell, we have all of our military. We have the Twin Towers, the Statue of Liberty. We have Christ going to Calvary. We have Billy Graham and the cross, and we have 1776, and we have the 2 million unknown soldiers, and on. And then we have all of the various presidents on the bottom of it. And this bell, when I started looking at the Liberty Bell, I found that the Liberty Bell only had a very small amount of information on it. It didn't speak anything about freedom. Well, this is the freedom bell. And this bell, when it gets done, will sound just like the one. It's exactly the same size. You may not believe it, but look. It's the same size as this one. You got it? And so once I get the clapper on it, once I get it all done, this will sound just like that bell. And so it's going to be very exciting to have this bell. I have 42 orders for it already. And I haven't even tried to promote it. Once we get all done with everything on it, and I'm working with a company, we're having a little trouble find a company to do it. My buddy Philip over there, with him and I went out to a putting contest the other day, and I'm going to challenge him again. I was not at my best, but I was going through some dizziness, but I met a young man, him and his mother, Bobby, and Philip, and so they're here. Let's give them a hand for the first time.
Thank you.
Now, Philip,
Thank you for having me.
thank you. You're welcome, and thanks for coming. He's a professional golfer, and he wants to go on a PGA tour, and he's I won't expose it. He's like a +2 handicap, and I said to him, if you want to be out there, you got to be a +5. Bottom line, you got to be a +5, and you got to be a +5 playing other courses. The kids today are shooting 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 on par, 15 under. You got to be 8, 10 under just to qualify. Sorry. And so here, a guy brought this here driver. Look at this, Philip. Look at that. It's what they call the center shaft, right? The shaft is directly in the center of the club. And we took this out to a driving range, and we took it and tested it. And I have a chance to buy this company. It's something new, right? Our country survives based on vision, based on new ideas, based on innovation, not based on a Democratic Party trying to run us in the ground and run us in the hole, okay? If it wasn't for entrepreneurship in our country, we wouldn't have a country, or no country would have it, right? And so I was going to show you a clip last night. How many of you watched Tucker? Nobody watched Tucker last night?
Last night.
Then did you? Okay. I want you to go online, pull up Tucker, and watch Tucker, what he said last night about what's going on in America and what's going on in the world, and this Green New Deal, and how in the next 15 years it will bankrupt our country to the extent that we're going to literally have poverty at a level that you would never, ever, ever believe. These people are absolutely insane. If you go back 5,000 years, 10,000 years, the survival of mankind has been through the process of a fire. They talk about global warming. I'm just hitting on some parts. They talk about global warming. Global warming, did you know that 5 times the people die from cold than they do from warming? Did you know that? You need to look it up. It's a farce and it's a joke that's been fed into the minds of young people in colleges, etc. And it's absolutely 100%. It's going to destroy our country and the economics and the shutting down of the pipeline and on and on. I'm going to get out of the politics. But I'm telling you, we really, truly, this coming November, you got to get these people out of office. I don't mind a Democrat person being in office as long as he's a true, honest to goodness Democrat. But these people are extreme socialist people that have an agenda, people at the top that are running the show, right? So anyway, you got to come up and see this later, all right?
Yes.
And then, so we have the bell, and then we have my book that I'm getting ready to do about the bell. This is Donald Trump's book, and so we're going to do this, and one of the pictures that's going to be in there is Donald Trump this here, and the other picture that's going to be in there is a picture of Billy Graham, and on and on and on, and I'm starting to write stuff in here, and the interlude in it says, to my wife Helen, without her, my life would be incomplete. And to my amazing family, Linda, Lori, and my hero, Buddy. Okay? And so the book, I'm starting to put it together and start to formulate that in my mind. And give you an idea of some of the things that I've got going on, plus other things. Okay? So I'm a busy guy. But here's the good news. When you're 39, you have your whole life to live. When you reach a point that you think you're too old to do anything, guess what? That's when your life's destroyed. Okay? So I'm going to get my wife to grab the fan and sit over here and sit up here. It's kind of warm up here. And help me out there. And then I'm going to get started real quick. You guys want to hear about procrastination? Well, that was a big cheer. Okay. Well, I want you to know here years ago, and the last time I presented it, I presented the first part, but I never did the second part. And so for those of you who did not see it, we'll send this out to you if you'd like. We'd be more than happy to send it to you. So what type of a procrastinator are you? So if you're looking to turn around your procrastinating habits, then it's important understand why you leave tasks until the last possible minute. What do people do that? You ever thought about it? Anybody want to comment on that? Why do you leave tasks to the last minute? Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot of times where I'll put something off if I'm not really sure on how to do it correctly, and it's big dividends.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Okay, because I'm going to make sure that I get done here, and I've got 22 slides. Okay, so here's the type of procrastination. Thank you, Aaron. Right there. There's a thrill seeker. See, I didn't realize there are different types of procrastinators. I had no idea until I went and started studying it, looking it up, and I said, well, I wonder what kind of a procrastinator I am. Because I like to get things done. I like to get busy. I like to be busy. I like to plan so many things that I don't have time to do anything. But the bottom line is, thank you so much. Just set that one solid. Okay? And so anyway, so what's this one? Ready? So we're going to go. So if you're a thrill seeker, now I'm going to go through these 5, and then once we get through these 5, you tell me which one you think you are. Kind of interesting, right? So if you're a thrill seeker, then you procrastinate because you actually get the rush from completing things the last minute. College students do that a lot. Okay, they wait till the very last minute to do things and to get things done. And when they and once they have a test to do or they got to get it done, they'll wait till the last couple of 3 days, and then guess what they'll do? They'll cram. They call it cramming. They cram it. And then they take the test, and if they pass it, they're happy, and then they forget about it. So it was almost like it was unimportant in the first place, right? And yet these individual people, because of their concept of thinking and how they think, they get degrees in college, and when they get out of the college, they have no substance up here to manage their life by. All right. But are you accomplishing your full potential when you're spending so little time on your projects? Then there's the avoider, right? Now, I'm not the avoider. I just know I'm the kind of guy, if there's a swimming pool there, I'm going to jump right in the middle of it. And I don't know why, but call it stupid or whatever, but I like to jump in the middle just to see what it feels like. You understand? Sometimes you have to be willing to get involved and stop avoiding doing the things that you've always wanted to do in your life. All right? Very important. So here's the avoider. The avoider runs away from the discomfort of going through with a task that either is unpleasant or has high stakes. Avoiders are almost always too focused on what others might think. I mean, anybody like that? Not me. I don't care what people think. You know, most people think they know what they think they know. With actuality, that what they think they know. They don't know that much. Well, that's not the kind of a person I want judging me. All right, just not with that. They would much rather have others think that they like effort rather than ability. They often try to make themselves feel better by running away from the task and not putting in the effort. I wasn't even trying something. You ever remember that one? That goes a lot of times. There's the indecisive procrastinator, right? That person simply can't make a decision, right? Oh my word! I met a lot of those kind of people. You ever meet somebody who makes a decision and then the next day they got another decision? Indecisive decision maker, right? It's amazing how that works. And yet, and the reason is because of a word. Anybody want to know that word?
Fear.
Huh? Fear and insecurity. Fear and insecurity. Those 2 words. Okay? Those 2 words will keep you from making a decision, sometimes a very serious decision like either medical or a decision about your life or a decision about your marriage or a decision about, I use the last one, accepting Christ as your personal Savior, the greatest decision you've ever make in your life. It's a question of why. Why don't you? Well, because the moment you make that decision, you give up control of your own life. And when God's in control, you're not out of control. When God, you understand? When God's in control, you're not out of control. But when God's in control of your life, He allows you and gives you the freedom to run your own life too. You just like to be a part of it. It's kind of interesting how that works. After all, if they're not making a decision, the result won't be their fault. All right, the perfectionist. Oh, do you ever see somebody who dressed absolutely perfect all the time? Everything has to be perfect. The hair has to be perfect. The shoes, the house has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. The perfectionist. And that individual person, many times when you sit down and talk to them from an in-depth point, it's insecurities that cause them to do that. And the fear of not being accepted. You understand? So these things, this thing called procrastination has many tentacles with it that touch a lot of different ways. Perfectionists set such high standards for themselves that they become overwhelmed. This type of procrastinator might even get started on work, which the other kinds of procrastinators usually have a hard time doing, but they fail to finish when they can't meet the unrealistic expectation they set for themselves because they can't do something perfectly, then nothing gets done at all. Interesting. And then we have, the anxiety, well, I won't go through that one. The busy procrastinator. I'm just so busy, I just don't have time to do it. Anybody ever been around people like that? I'm that guy. I am that guy. I'm the guy that runs up to the airline place and shouting to the lady, give me a ticket, give me a ticket. And she says, where to? And I said, anywhere, I got business everywhere. Okay? So what you have to do is you have to understand, we were talking this morning about spinning plates. Anybody ever see the comment? If I had time, I'd have pulled it up. Where the guy on stage back here and Ed Sullivan show and all those shows, they used to bring them on there. They would have a guy who would spin a plate and then he would get two going, and then he would get that going. It was pretty easy to do 2 plates. And then he said, well, and then he would look at the audience, then he would go get the third one. And then he would get all 3 of them. Then he would get the 4th one. Then he would get the 5th one. Then he would get the 6th one. By the time he got to the 6th one, he was running back and forth to all of the different ones. All of a sudden, he tries to do number 7, and he falls on the floor. He falls on the floor, and the cameras are on him, and he's sitting there, and he just says, I just can't do it. You ever seen somebody like that? You're looking at it. I am the busy procrastinator. If I had to pick one of these, it would be me, because I get so many things going, because I have so many ideas, I have so much vision about different things I'd like to do. I'm riding in the car this morning, and I said to Helen, I said, boy, that sausage that we have, it's pretty good sausage. I want to start getting Jimmy Dean sausage. Why? Because I like Jimmy Dean sausage. I said, pull out your telephone. Let's look up Jimmy Dean. And we looked up Jimmy Dean. How many of you know where Jimmy Dean is from? Huh?
Where he's from.
Jimmy Dean was from Texas. How about that? And did you know that Jimmy Dean went to a restaurant one day and he was having some sausage, and he bit into some gristle, and when he bit into the gristle, he didn't like it, and he started his own company called Jimmy Dean Sausage. Went to his brother, and they got some pigs, and went down, and they started the company called Jimmy Dean Sausage in Texas. And then when he didn't make any money and everything, they were going broke, he moved to Florida, and he got some people involved in it. And then from Florida, he moved to Tennessee, and then he opened up a factory in Tennessee. Today, Jimmy Dean Sausage is the biggest seller in America, by far. Why? Because of the quality. Why? Because Jimmy Dean, because he had the vision of building the company. I mean, anybody ever heard Jimmy Dean sing? All right? Back here when I was a kid, Jimmy Dean, he was a country western singer, and he used to get on the aircraft carriers and go to the military, and he served, he did a lot of stuff. Look up Jimmy Dean sometime. It's a very interesting story if you'd like to hear about Jimmy Dean. Busy procrastinators are just too busy to actually get down to the bottom of their to-do list. Everything seems equally important, and they can't decide what to do first. Choosing only one task, you can read that, okay? I don't leave the bottom line. When you become so busy that you don't have time to prioritize the most important things in your life, then your life is out of control. You may think you're in control, but your life is out of control. And it's really, really hard for God to work in your life. It's hard for your family members to work in your life, because nothing seems to work out or fit. And so you're at a point of total massive disorganization, right? So that's that. And then here's the last one, how to overcome procrastination. Okay, I mean, those are the people that you really want to get around, because those are the guys that drive you absolutely nuts, right? So recognize self-defeating problems such as fear and anxiety, difficulties in concentrating, poor timing, management indecisiveness, and perfectionism. That's all. You get to where you get those all under control. Guess what? you're going to be a pretty important person. And then identify your own goals, strengths and weaknesses and values and priorities. Compare your actions. And then are your values consistent with your actions? And discipline yourself to use time wisely and set your priorities. Right? Now look, I know. When I did this study 18 years ago and I presented it to the class I recognized that the study that I did was not for them. Guess who it was for? It was for me. And if they wanted to listen, if they wanted to catch hold of something that applied to them and use it to change and work their lives, then I felt like that was a good thing. And if you're going through your life right now, I will tell you, by the time I'm done with what I'm going to finish up with here, if you will do the things I'm talking about, the things that you want to accomplish in your life, they will get accomplished, because what you're doing is you're utilizing your life and your time to the best perfection that you can do. And if you're sitting on your okuli not doing anything, guess what? Nothing is nothing. That's the indecisive decision maker. So how to overcome procrastination? Here it is. Study is fun. Now, this is kind of common sense type stuff. You'd be surprised how many people don't have common sense. You'd be surprised how many people don't have any sense at all. I mean, sometimes they'll say that, and I have a tendency to speak, out on that, because I was with Eric the other day. I made a comment about something about an individual person, right? And I have a tendency to say something that fits the narrative, but doesn't fit the situation. Okay, but I get around people. I use a phrase all the time: you couldn't find their butt with both hands, right? And why do I say things like that? Go ahead.
Well, that's where I come in. A friend of mine is ill with the 82nd Airborne. The choppers that you jump from have a sign by the door that you jump out that says, "Do not jump from the flying upside down."
I agree. Okay, that's a good one. You come up with some good ones, I'll tell you. I love it. Okay, so here we go. Let's get down to motivated. So study, motivate yourself. Folks, listen. If you want to achieve a higher level, you got to get out of your comfort zone. If you want to go to a higher level, you got to be willing to put in the time. And if you're not willing to put in the time, don't expect to achieve the level that you'd like to. I was talking to Philip about taking it to the next level, right? When you are a professional at anything and you really truly know what you're doing, to take it to the next level is not a physical, it's a mental. And in order to take the mental to the next level, you got to go through the physical to get there. And see, how did I say that? It's not the physical. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because they gotta coincide and work together. When I wanted to play golf, I got down to about +5 handicap for about 2 days, and then after that I slipped back to a 0. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But Phil knows what I'm talking about. See, now he's laughing because he knows where I'm at. What happens is when you pay the time and you put the effort and energy to do what it is that you like to do in your life, don't expect it to happen without discipline. Don't expect it to happen without putting in the time. And don't expect it to happen without a price. It comes with a price. Okay? And once you do that, once you get there, it's almost like, I remember the first time, I'll do this for Philip. I remember the first time I shot 77 on the golf course. I remember I was in Hawaii and Guinea Cup was giving me a lesson. And when I first started playing, Guinea would tell me, first time he ever gave me a lesson, he says, "Oh," he's a Japanese guy, "Oh, you must hit ball harder." And I was singing, and I'd swing as hard as I could. And I'm standing there, and he said, "Oh, you're so weak. You need to hit harder." And I would sit there, and I'm going like this, and go, wham! And he said, "Oh, no. Hit ball harder, easier." See what I'm saying? So what was the lesson? The lesson was you have to know what your potential is before you can go through the process of getting there. Did you catch that? You got to know what your potential. You got to know how strong you are. You got to know what you can do, and then you can back up, and then you can proceed to achieve the goals and the dreams that you want. But if you don't know where you are here and you don't know how up here, how are you going to get there? You got to go through the process of that. You understand that, Phil? So you set realistic goals. My goal was to shoot in the 70s. And within 7 months, I was willing to work, and at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at midnight, I'm hitting golf balls in the yard, into a net. Why? Because I had a desire to shoot in the 70s, and I didn't even realize I was playing golf in Hawaii, and I was playing with Guinea, and I was playing with him. He says, "Oh, you do so good today. You have 4 buddies." He called them buddies. And he said, "You have 4 buddies. You do so good." And I'm coming into number 16, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really like 2 over par, right? I panic, you know how that works, right? And then when I finish, I find out I shoot 77. That's 7 months of golf, which is pretty amazing. But I was willing to put in all the effort so that when it did happen, it wasn't that big a deal. I went past the part of shooting in the 70s. Okay, another thing. So it's got to be realistic. Okay, manage your energy. Activity without distraction. You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to. The other day when I was out with, I got Bill Wilson. I went out and putting and everything, and I had Philip and his mother, and I said to them, "I'd like for you to do me a favor. I would like for you to go over there and not be here as a distraction." Why? Not because I didn't want them there, not because I didn't enjoy their company, because I wanted total focus on working with him, and I didn't want any distraction to allow me to communicate with him at the level I wanted to. See what I'm saying? Sometimes when you work with people, you got to be willing to avoid or eliminate distractions so that you can accomplish the dreams and the goals that you want to accomplish. It's really important. The ones that will distract you the most are family, friends. Those are the ones that will distract you the most. Those are what I call dream stealers, time stealers, management stealers. Why? Because their 100%, 110% interest is to help you to get to where you're going. And it's okay, there's a time for that, there's a time for that, you need that time to yourself. It's really important that you do that, right? I tell my wife, back off. I tell her, don't have Helen. I'll tell her, I say, back off. Why? I would need this time. I want this time to focus. Okay? I did a talk one time on the stage, I think about 2,000 people up in Los Angeles, and the theme of my talk was focus with intensity. Focus with intensity. And one of the best talks I ever gave. I was the only person that was standing. It was all of them, okay? But you guys missed that joke. But you understand? The idea behind it is there has to be focus. But if you don't have intensity behind focus, usually you'll be lackadaisical in what you're doing and how you're doing it, and things don't get done. It's really important. Anybody catching some of this stuff? You guys are all awfully quiet there. Okay? Activity without distraction, doing things that don't seem to matter. Burden without action. Not being able to do things that really matter. When I was putting this together years ago, I remember I was doing studying, I was looking all the time, and I'm trying to come up with different things that affected psychologically me. And so I was doing that because when you go to school, you quit school in the 7th grade, and you can't spell cat, right? I have trouble spelling cat and rat. I didn't know which one, I couldn't even get the right letters in place. You understand? And so when you have those learning problems, and you have the physical problem, but you have the learning, it's really hard to get the learning and the physical together. Does anyone catch that one? And so a lot of times you think you know, most people remember what I just said, most people think they know what they think they know. In actuality, that what they think they know, they just don't know that much about it. And I find 85 to 90% of the people that I talk to and meet when I'm talking to them, they're like that. They start, like me, start rambling off, and I'm going, where are you going? Where are you going? Okay? Here we go. Conflict without resolution. Not being able to deal with what is the matter. What's the matter? What's the matter? You ever heard that one? What's the matter? Examining the ABCs. Decide where you need to manage your energy. Fight for integrity. Okay? Integrity is not what we do as much as who we are. Okay, and when I was putting this together, I remember I was trying to figure out a reason how to progressively move into that situation. So all of this right here, we are faced with conflicting desires. No one, no matter how spiritual, can avoid the devil. You can't avoid it. Not going to happen. Integrity is the factor that determines which desire will prevail. We struggle daily with situations that demand decision between what we want to do and what we ought to do. Integrity establishes the ground rules for resolve these tensions. Okay? And decide what you're not willing to change. Now, here's a really important one. When as I was growing up and maturing in the department store, we had 40 stores. We were doing about $225 million a year in business, and we had about 1,600 employees, and I was a percentage partner. I started to work my way into a percentage partner of the company, all right? And so as I progressively grew into the company, I started learning various things about merchandising and buying and selling. I remember the first time I ever bought a blender. First time I bought a blender, and it was a Westinghouse blender, and I remember I bought the blender, and it retailed for like $39 or something, and it was only $8 cost. If I buy like from the department store, I was buying like 1,500 of them, right? I'm going, $8? You gotta be kidding me. You mean to tell me they're making that kind of money? You understand? Look, the public, 80%, 85, 90% of the public have zero idea what things cost. Isn't that amazing? The vaccine, this vaccine that you're taking costs less than a half a cent. Did you know that? Less than a half a cent to make it. It's crazy. And they're charging hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and paying the hospitals and everything hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Why? Because the consumer has been fed information, and that information that you have in your mind is based on what they want you to know. And what we do is we fall in line and do what they tell us to do. All right? I want to go into that one. That's another one, okay? You got to study it. There are a few things I enjoy more than learning something new. If you want to get me excited, like working with Philip the other day and being on the green and being there with him and his mother and sharing that time, learning about someone, not his golf, I've been there, done that 100 times, but learning who the man is, learning what his dreams are, learning what he wants to accomplish in his life, and then be able to be just a little bit a part of that. You understand? When you come to a place in your life where you involve your life in the life of others in a way that changes their life, then you know that you're on the path that God would want you to do. Just that simple. It's really simple. I'd rather die than forfeit my faith in God. When I was looking at this one the other day, I thought about it, and I was going to change that word. I was going to change the word die. I went, well, maybe I might be a little strong. Maybe not understand that. But to give up my faith, to give up my belief in God, to give up my integrity of my belief, you gotta be kidding. I'm not going to do it. Under any condition, I would rather die than forfeit my faith in God. My commitment to integrity, family, generosity, and belief in people. Those are the things that I live my life for. Those are what I call governing values. Governing values are nothing more than things you're willing to give up your life for. I give a story one time. I tell people, do you know what a governing value is? Have you ever thought what a governing value is? And the guy looks at me and he says, well, I really don't have a good explanation for it, but I think it's just maybe something that you dedicate yourself to. Now that just told me the depth of his knowledge. So let me give you the story of a governing value so that you will understand. I got a plank here, and I got a block here, and I got a pole. You know, like young ladies walk across these here pole. What do you call it when they at the Olympic? Huh? Big part?
The balance beam.
The balance beam. You know, it's about this wide, right? You jump around all this kind of stuff, but it's only a foot high. And I tell my buddy Wayne over here, and I said, would you walk across that? He said, sure. And he gets up on it and walks across the pole. And I say, well, great. I raise it up about 5 feet up to here, and I say, now, would you climb up the ladder and get up there and walk across? And you go, well, I don't feel too good about it. I don't feel too safe to do that. No, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $10. Nah, it's not enough. I'll give you $20. Now, I'll give you $100. Oh, for $100, I'll try it. All right? That's called a value. He's established a value to what it is that he's willing to do to hurt himself. And then I'll cut to the chase. Let's go to the extreme of what a governing value is. Remember the Twin Towers? I put a pole all the way across the Twin Towers. There was a guy who did that one time with a wire and walked across it. Right? I put a pole, and I say to you, would you be willing to walk across that or crawl across that? Are you kidding? Not on your life. But over on the other side is a person, and he has the person that you love more than any in this world, and he's got him under the arms, and he's holding him over the side, and he says to you, but if you don't go across, I'm going to drop him. All of a sudden you go, I'm willing to die for that governing value. The governing value that you're willing to give up your life for is a value of substance that has value and meaning. And if you go to your place in your life that you have not established governing values in your life, things that you'd be willing to give up your life for, I'd rather die than forfeit my faith in God. That's what a governing value is. Okay? Should get a handle on that. That's pretty good stuff there. Okay? I want to encourage you to think about the non-negotiables in your life. So what are you willing to live and die for once you identify those things? And I just discovered that with you. So what are the non-negotiables in your life? These are mine. A burning desire to succeed in setting goals. Never give up attitude. Integrity and characters and helping people. Quality time with family. Setting priorities in my life and my faith and my God. So those are the values. Those are called governing values. Things that I substance and the values of my life that are important. The periodic principle, the 80-20. Everybody's heard of the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of all the money you make in your life will come from 20% of the work that you do and all that kind of stuff. 80% of your knowledge comes from 20% of what the books that you read. And Paul and I were talking about some of John Maxwell's books, etc. You can read that whole book, but 80%, 20% of the knowledge of this book, when you read and study this book, 20% of the knowledge that you get out of here will be what you will use in your life. Okay? It's just that simple. 20% of your priorities will give you 80% of your production, etc. Just discover that. So don't manage your time, manage your life. Most things fall under the 80-20 rule. Just cover that. 80% of the things we do with our life has little or no value or long-lasting benefit. I remember that one, and I took that one and wrote it down, and every night before I went to bed, every morning when I got up, I read that 80% of the things you do today will have little or no value. I remember I put that down. And what happens is people that are really, really, really successful understand that rule. They learn to eliminate individual things or individual people that use up their time. And they learn to say no. The wealthiest people I know, Warren Buffett, in his book, wrote, he said, I get 200 requests plus a day for people asking me for money. How'd you like to have that coming at you? 200 people a day asking him for money.
That's a good problem.
Why don't you go out and make money? You're lazy, good for nothing dog. You understand? But they want. And the ones that are asking for money the most are what? Charities. Charity. Right? I can give you some stories about that one. I won't bore you. Sunday. Was it Sunday afternoon, Helen? Sunday afternoon, I got a chance to go out. To the racetrack and be there for my friend Salah Hassanein. Millions of dollars, raised a lot of money for Water for Life, and it was called Lifeline. 2 different charities, and I helped them raise money, and I would go out and do auctions. I'm a professional auctioneer. What are you going to give somebody good to the run? You know, a lot of that stuff. And I went to school learned how to be an auctioneer because I did that auction one time. And but anyway, I go out to the racetrack and I'm there and I'm in a room with about 150 people. And Nisa comes up to me and she said, we have a villa. We have a villa down in Mexico. It's a $5 million facility. And it's right on the ocean. You got your own boat. You got your own maids. And you got all this stuff. And we're going to auction it off. And I said, do you have a brochure on it? She said, yes, I do. She gave me the brochure. I read the brochure. When I got all done with the brochure, I literally stood down, closed my eyes, and I looked at the brochure in my mind. In my mind, I looked at that brochure in my mind. God says, my people suffer for the lack of vision. Why? I visioned it in my mind that what I was going to do is I was going to plant a seed or a vision in the other minds of people about the joy and the happiness and the fun that you could have going down there. Because I had to take reality and I had to turn it into a vision. And so I talked to them. Ladies and gentlemen, here today, I want to talk to you about this unbelievable place. When you're there, you're going to have maids and they're going to take care of the food. They're going to take care of the service and you're going to be able to go out on the boat. You're going to be able to do these and and I'll go through all this stuff. And then I said, all right, now what are you going to get for it? Somebody gets 6,000, I get 6,000 on my 10 goes up, 6,000 on my about 7. All right, 7,000, somebody gives 7, no, 7, no, 75, 7, and I go all the way to $9,000, $8,500. And I'm at $8,500. Got this lady over here with diamonds all over the place. And I got this, here's named Fred, my side guy. And I got Fred sitting over here and these other people around. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, wow, I'm trying to get $9,000. All right, now somebody give me 9. I need that. Man, will you go 9,000? I told her at 7,500. I said, if you go 75, Fred won't go 8. And she said, okay. So she went 75 and Fred goes 8 just like that. And everybody was laughing. And I said, oh, sorry about that. I messed up, but he won't go 85. You go 85, he won't go 9. Well, it just so happens he did. You understand? So what I did was I get people involved and having a good time and relaxed atmosphere. And Fred bought it at 9,000. But I got a gal over here just went 8,500. She said, I would pay $8,500. I walked over to Nisa. I said, Nisa, we have a week and we just got $9,000 for it. But I got a gal over here right now that will go $8,500 if we could get a second week. She said, let me make a call. She looked at me and she goes, okay. I walk over to her and I said to her, her name is Mammy. I said, Mammy or something like that. Mamie. And I said, Mamie, I got a great idea. I said, you're not going to believe it. I said, you bet 8,500. I got it at 8,000. Would you be willing to go to 8,000? You went 8,500. Would you go $8,000? And she said, absolutely. Bam! $9,000, $8,000, $90,000, $70,000. Just like that, we went from boom, boom, boom. 17,000. Why? Because of vision, because of knowledge, because of wisdom. You understand? But you can never do it until you've been there, done that, or until you have the God gift of vision. God says, my people suffer from the lack of vision, the inability and likability because you're not willing to put yourself in that position. And the only way you'll ever get there. Philip, you'll never get there until you get into that frame. The moment you go there, the moment you get there, you will go from a 2 to a 5. Just like that. It'll happen. It happens right here, not here. Got it? Okay. Examples of, and I don't want to take you through all this, 20% of you've already, you know that. Product counts at 20% of the people take 80% of our time. Products, and I told you most of that. I usually have a tendency to be a little bit repetitive in my talk sometimes. 20% of the work gives us 80% of our satisfaction. Speak, 20% of the presentation produces 80% of the impact. That's why I'm trying to talk a little fast because I don't usually want to remember about 2%. so anyway, donations. Did you know that 20% of the people will give 80% of the money in the church? Yep. Right, Pastor? It never fails. Why? Because you got free. The country is full of freeloaders who feel like they deserve stuff that they don't deserve. Nobody deserves a free lunch. God says in His Word, if you don't eat,
if you don't work, you don't eat.
If you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't work, you don't eat. We have a society of freeloaders in our country they have a right. You don't have a right to have the freedoms of this country unless you earn the right. You don't have a right to come across the border and have everybody pay for everything. You don't have the right. But there are those in our country who believe that you do. Why? Because everybody in the world deserves to have something for nothing. And they fed that to school and through the education and through the system until they literally have programmed it in their minds and how they believe. But yet, 99% of them want to work for wealthy people so they can get what? The money. Got it? I tell them, why don't you go work for one of your friends that have no money? Well, I can't get paid. I don't get any money. They can't help me. They can't even help themselves. And yet they want to go into people who have money, the wealthy, and then they want to make comments like, they don't need all that money. They shouldn't have it. You should take it away from them and give it to others. Take from the rich. God says that you can't take from those who have and give to those. No, the Bible says, take care of the poor, take care of the sick. But it doesn't say take care of those who are able-bodied people. I mean, guys, I try to get out of those things because I'm too much on it. Okay, here's the last one. Leadership. 20% of the people will make 80% of the decision. Did you know that? It's kind of interesting. All these years I looked up. Picnic. 20% of the people will make 80% of the food. Did you get that, Richard? Richard's one of the great artists. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make one point. If you're working hard and not getting anything done, if you hire Mexican people to run Mexican people, you'll get work out of it. If you hire Americans to run Mexican people, they will not get a dime back for anything they invest.
Here, say that one more time. Here.
If you're employing Mexican people, you better have Mexican people in charge, and you'll get work out of them like you wouldn't believe. If you try and run them the American way, they don't understand it and they will not respond well.
You get that?
Yeah.
Some of the finest, most amazing people that I have met in my life are Mexican people. The young man that's working for me is amazing, has tremendous talents and abilities, and he's a school of the system, and he's learning, and I've done everything working with him and trying to get him. I want to turn him into an entrepreneur. I want to turn him into a visionary. I want to turn him into a man who has the ability to take an idea and take it to the next level, to be able to take a grip and move it a quarter of it. Ben Hogan says, if you move your grip just a quarter of an inch, it takes a whole year to get used to it. A whole year. And yet we psychologically think that once we hear something, we got the answer. In order to achieve anything in life, it takes time and effort and energy. Individual people, many of these people that come across this border are wonderful, absolutely. But what we're talking about, we got to stop the drugs. We got to stop these cartels and people that are killing 100 to 200,000 of our young people with these drugs and infesting the minds of our country. Guys, we got some serious problems that are going on, okay? I got to quit. All right. One more time. I get sidetracked. I've got 2 more slides. So the 5-second rule, okay? Here, years ago, I came up with this, the 5-second rule. You ready for this? If you don't get started in 5 seconds, chances are you will start to put it off till later. You must discipline yourself to just say, do it now. If you can't do it now, put it on a to-do list. I wrote that years ago. I read that in the morning. I read it in the afternoon. I put it, if you go to Helen's desk over there, this is sitting there. It's right there. When she opens it up, it says, get started now. Don't wait. The body, the physical body, the mind is programmed to literally react on a thought. Did you know that? Golfers. Oh my gosh, there's a tree over there. I got to stay with the tree. Oh boy, there's a bunker to the left. Oh my goodness, the narrow skyway. So you program yourself with these thoughts. And then the moment you do, you start backing off. The physical, psychological, emotional body starts processing that information, and you have a tendency to go in a different direction. We do it in business, we do it in marriages, we do it in whatever, all these things. And then over the other part of it is this. So I did a breakdown of it. Number one, the 5-second rule. Make a decision to get started now. Don't allow physical emotions to overpower your commitment. Focus with intensity. Remember I talked to you about focus with intensity? Learn how to focus with intensity. Most people will misread that, and they'll think you're hyper. I told a lady one time, I said, ma'am, I said, you don't know the difference between hyper and intensity. You don't have the slightest idea because you don't have either. And she didn't like that. Frankly, madam, I don't care to that. Do you understand? Borrowed a phrase from Gone with the Wind. Do you understand? I don't care. I'm not going to let other people manage and control my life by what they say. Yeah. So here's the bottom line. Focus with intensity. Learn how to focus with intensity. Number two, make a to-do list if you can't do it right now. List jobs in order of importance. Commit. That one. List jobs in order. I was with a buddy of mine named Richard Nesler one time over in Phoenix. We spent I did a golf tournament with him, and I was sitting at the table and the phone rings, and Richard answered the phone, and Richard says, hello. He said, well, Jim, he said, I'm sitting here with my friend, and we're having breakfast. He said, I got 1 minute. 1 minute. And he said, here's the 3 things I want to do. Number one, and we were talking about, this guy was he worked like $3 billion. And we're sitting here talking. The decision, the things he was talking to Jim were about hundreds of millions of dollars. And get back with me at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, the phone rang. At 2 o'clock, everything he asked him to do was done. Why? Because he had focus with intensity. That's where I got it from. Learn how to do things with focus with intensity and deliberateness to get it done. And you will find at the end of the day, you will get 20, 30, 40% done. Can you imagine a country getting 20 to 30% more done? Can you imagine the government, people working in the government? I was in the government. I was in the Air Force. I saw people, military were doing the job while what do you call it, G4s and whatever, they're sitting on their left butts doing nothing while we were doing the work. It was crazy. I couldn't understand it. It drove me nuts. Okay? Don't allow distractions. Tell others about your plan of achievement. That's another one. Always tell people what you're going to do. That's what I'm always talking about my bell. I'm talking about the rate. I'm always talking about these things. And then people will say, how are you doing all that? How are you doing all that? How are you doing all that? It keeps it in front of you all the time. And then if you don't do it, you're a liar. If you don't get started doing it, well, I decided not to do that. Give me a break. It wasn't that good in the first place. Check off the list as you complete the task. Don't allow any one task to obligate or control your time. Create a habit of repeating this over and over until it becomes a habit that happens. I used to go to sleep and I would have a recording and I would take it, turn it down, and I would go to sleep and it would set me where it would go over and over and over and over again. Why? Because I wanted to program my inner subconscious mind that what I wanted to do. And I'd be talking, and all of a sudden I would say something, and I'm going, where did that come from? Where did that come from? You understand? Why? Because I was willing to program my mind, and I was willing to obligate myself while I was sleeping to learn. A lot of times, you guys don't even know that you can do that, but you can. God gives you the ability to do anything you want. All right, here's the last one. I'm waiting. Okay, here we go. And here's the. So, would it profit you, the leader, to do everything and work well and manage yourself well there, and your life is a mess? Well, we should have time to go into that quite a bit. But I found out this. I can be a wonderful guy at work. I can have all the best attitude. I can have the best disciplines. I can have everything and go home and be an absolute 100% jerk.
A lot of people do.
You understand? I can do that. And guess what? That means I am a born-again hypocrite. And every time you do it, you're a born-again hypocrite. And so what you have to do is you have to learn that, number one, you want to be the best at home and set the greatest example at home. At 1 o'clock this morning, I'm in the bed with my wife, and I'm saying to my wife, I'm telling her how much I how much I appreciate her, how much I respect her. Out of the words of your mouth come the convictions of your heart. So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You understand? If you don't understand the governing values, the biblical values that God's given you, and don't use those, if you once you put them in place, your life goes up like a rocket. It's amazing. And then God says, okay, go for it. He said, I don't want to control you. I just want to be a part of it. It's amazing how that works. It's crazy how that works. All right. For years, one of my definitions of success has been this: having those closest to love and respect me the most. That's very important to me. This is what's most important. I want the love and respect of everyone, especially my wife, of my children, and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, much more than I want the respect of anyone else with me. Amen. You understand? Stop worrying about what other people think. What other people think doesn't matter. And if you allow that to control and run your life, you don't have much of a life. Amen. Okay?
Sorry.
That's all right.
It's really
I'm just telling you. It's the gospel truth. All right. If I blow managing myself at home, then the negative impact will spill over into every area of my life, including my work. Okay? And here's the last part, and I got the last slide coming up. If you want to lead up, you must always lead yourself first. If you can't, you have no credibility. If I can't lead myself, others won't follow me. This is from John Maxwell. If I can't lead myself, others won't respect me. If I can't lead myself, others won't partner with me. How well are you leading yourself at home? Philip, no matter where you are and where you're going, those are the things that will guide you and direct you in where you're going. Understand? It's really important to know that. The better you're making sure you're doing what you should be doing, the better chance you have for making an impact on others. The measure, I wrote this one years ago, the measure of a man or woman cannot be measured by his or her mistakes or failures. It's what he or she makes of themselves, learning through them. Learning through them. Oh, no, I get to talk about it. Okay. The master director says, thank you for coming, and I appreciate that. Anybody, okay? And I think you ought to give God a big hand. Okay. Okay, I have copies of this up here for everybody. If you'd like to have a copy of it, you're welcome to it. And next week, Edwin, come in here just a minute. Oh my gosh.